These three gentlemen take mental well-being seriously, but are not serious. They'd rather swear and make irreverent jokes. Now that you know, the healing may commence.
Well, howdy there, Internet. It's me, your very best friend, Ryan Brown, and you're listening to We're Probably Not Okay. But are we? You can be the judge. Anyway, that's Brandon.
Hello.
What's his
I'm
deal?
the Shepherd of the Forest, Brandon Full. Your second host out of the three of us for this podcast, but more important than me, debatably more important than Ryan, definitely more important than the religious faiths, is this guy right down here.
David Musgrave, the man kissed by all angels. Speaking of religious faiths.
From all faiths.
Yeah, from all. There's all kinds of angels. There's Divics, if you're Jewish, and you got to put them in a box. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
That's something. And yeah, and
The gin.
The gin. And I've been kissed by all angels, and I'll drink to that.
Hey, angel kisses.
What are we here to do, Ryan?
Just hang out.
That would be awesome. We should absolutely just hang out. That would be great.
What are you drinking there? Was that iced tea?
Yes.
What kind? Oh, I see. How charming. A smooth, hoppy beverage which punches you right in the esophagus.
I was going to say, it's a very hoppy tea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been drinking very little, like almost not at all. And this is not a very low alcoholic beer, so I might get weird real quick.
Oh no.
But I'm ready for that.
Keep the shirt on. Keep the pants
And
on.
what do you got there, Brandon? I saw you had a mug of something.
I'm drinking some coffee, some delicious black coffee out of my Wonder Woman cup.
What kind of coffee do you drink?
Whatever's
IPA
cheapest from the dollar store. Yeah, a very hoppy kind of coffee.
Dollar store coffee.
Yeah, dollar store coffee. See, normally I go for Folgers because the Folgers, the big ones, are on sale for like $6.
Yeah,
but they haven't been on sale for a while, so I had to go for the dollar store brand, which was $4.
Mm-hmm. We got a Keurig machine at my office, and one of my coworkers bought a bunch of those little pods that you get for it, and bought like themed ones, like got like a Nightmare Before Christmas one, and the Fallout one, and a Star Wars one.
They're Fallout Keurig cups.
There's different ones too. There's one that is apple pie flavored, and then there's one that's just vanilla, and that's the Brotherhood of Steel flavor. And that was the best one, really. It was good.
See, I feel like they they should have had like cram flavored, and it just tasted like ham and Nuka-Cola, like a cola flavored coffee.
There should be a cola flavored coffee.
Yeah, I almost guarantee you there is. Hold on, let me become R&D for a second. You guys talk amongst yourself.
All right. Well, Brandon, let's do our mental health analysis check-in. Well, how are you?
I'm good. I don't have a whole lot to report as far as anything goes. I had a friend come in weekend before last, because it's been a little bit since we've recorded. I had a friend come in who I haven't seen in years. So he came in from South Carolina, and we went out to eat and went with
the
him
lesser
and
of the
my friend.
Carolinas.
Yes. We went with him and my friend Ethan, who you guys know, and our mutual friend Phil, who I was going to wait till the end of the show, but I'll go ahead and give a shout out to him now. During lunch, Phil was like, "Man, I've listened to every one of your guys' podcast episodes. I really like it." I was like,
that's nice. Is this Phil that we went to high school with?
Yes, at some point.
Phil Shipley? Do I need a duck quack? Is his name Phil Shipley?
No, his name's not Phil Shipley.
Is it Phil?
Yeah.
Is it Phil?
Yeah, Duck Quack the last name though, because I don't know if he wants me to say his last name.
Oh, you
Yeah,
want me to duck quack?
Yeah.
Just in case. I mean, he might not want to be associated with our particular brand of filth. So no accounting for taste, I suppose.
But keep Shipley though, because fuck Phil Shipley. I don't know who he is.
Yeah, who is that? I assume he's bad.
He was older than all of us. He wasn't bad. He was a friend of mine. I just didn't know if you guys knew him or not.
Bad.
Do we just arbitrarily don't? Yeah, Brandon, I hate him.
No, Phil
just
Shipley.
decided.
No, you guys just can't do that like all the time.
I'm pretty sure this is America. We can just arbitrarily hate whoever we want.
you get one a year. Last year was Jeremy. This year is Phil Shipley.
Fucking Jeremy.
Wait,
but does it?
It carries over. You can continue to hate
does
them.
it expire after a year? Okay.
No, you can continue to hate them. You just get to pick another one every year.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Ooh,
so,
okay. But they have to be arbitrary.
Arbitrary for sure. Like, don't hate them for a good reason. So the shit list, the arbitrary shit list so far is Jeremy, Phil Shipley.
Yep.
Both we could not pick out of a crowd if we had to.
Yeah.
I could pick one of them out of a crowd. And I'm not saying which, even though one was at my wedding.
So was the friend that came up to visit you, was he a friend of the pod as well, Brandon?
He's not I can't even say he's not a podcast listener because he is. No, he's not a friend of the pod. He's a friend of mine, but he's not a listener of the podcast.
How tragic.
Yeah, I know.
Did you elucidate him to the error of his ways?
Well, here's what's up with him, and I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to get too personal with it.
Yeah,
you guys know him, and I'll tell you afterward who it was.
Okay,
because you guys know who he is.
I also don't want to have to put too many duck quacks in this episode,
exactly,
so I appreciate the.
You can go with like a moose call instead.
What's that sound like?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you guys ever seen a moose in real life?
No, but I think it'd be terrifying because I think they're real big.
Yeah, they're like fucking dinosaurs. Huge. Yeah, they're like dinosaurs. Yeah. Anyway, continue, Brandon.
He had a very dangerous surgery done at a very young age, or like late 20s, mid to late 20s, involving his heart. And he had to get like a ticker put in so you can hear him tick when he walks around now because he has like a mechanical piece.
He's a clockwork man?
He's a clockwork man. And he has heard, because he faced death so closely, he's become very spiritual. And so it's kind of enlightening to talk to him. Not spiritual in like a Christian way, although he is reading the Bible, but just spiritual in like an overall sort of way,
right on. Yeah, it's cool.
So that was interesting to talk to. I don't talk to spiritual people very often. Non-Christian spiritual people. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Word.
So
that's interesting.
Cool.
Well, cool.
Yep. And besides that, I had D&D earlier. That was fun. Got to say my ill-fated old podcast, of which I'm wearing a shirt for right now. We would have a saying at the end where one person would say, "Keep your clubs blunt," and the second person would say, "And your tusks sharp," and then we would both say goodnight. We do our D&D every Sunday. Typically, the other host, Remington, is the one who does the outro for the D&D episodes. So he just does the whole thing because he mutes us. But we were short enough today that we were able to do... He didn't need to mute us. So anyway, I got to do it again for the first time in probably like a year and a half. We got to do the keep your clubs blunt, your tusks sharp, back and forth like that. And it was cool. It was kind of bittersweet. I wish I still did that podcast too. I love this podcast in a lot of ways, and I love Dueling Ogres, my old podcast, in a lot of ways too. I don't love one more than the other at this point, but I do miss Dueling Ogres and the like news that we were able to talk about that we don't bring to this podcast because we're more of a mental health. We're more of a focused podcast here, whereas Dueling Ogres was. Yeah. We started in the very early Wild West of podcasts when all you had to do was sit in front of a microphone and just talk. And people wanted to listen to you.
Yeah. No, I get that. I absolutely, I was just thinking about that the other day. I still miss my doing Nerd Life with people, my Nerd Life crew, just because, I mean, it was like you were saying, it's not the same thing. It's not like, I don't want to say serious because it would strain credulity to call this podcast serious, but I think we tend to talk about things of a more, serious, vital, heavy nature versus like Nerd Life was just exclusively like shit talking our mutual friend Ron and
Fucking
just doing like a bunch of stupid, like we did like a whole bit about raccoons getting in the air vents at his comic book store where he works because he left the back door open one time and was eating nothing but candy for days. And it was like this long ass bit that just kept going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand that. It's just a creative outlet, you know what I mean? And then it's gone. So no matter what, you miss the shape of that, energy that you created there,
Yeah. Like I don't think the podcast, I don't think it's even available to download anymore.
Really? Oh, really?
I think it's
too bad.
I know the website's not up. You can't buy any of our merch anymore. Right? So I think it's just like just done.
Why?
Is it still on YouTube? Like, can you find the episodes on YouTube?
Yeah, you can find the episodes on YouTube. I didn't think about that. But yeah, anywhere else, if you want to download a podcast, I don't think you can anymore because you have to pay for hosting. And I don't think hosting is being paid for anymore.
Hosting's a bitch.
It is famously a bitch.
Well, it's cool. I'm sure you can still find it on YouTube because this shit free, at least for now.
Yeah. So I'm going to give not the podcast a little plug because we don't do it anymore, but my D&D side thing. If you like me, if you want to watch me run a D&D game, look up Dueling Ogres on YouTube.
Is it on? It's only on YouTube. Is it on like anything else like Twitch?
You can find us on Twitch on Sundays, but we play so sparingly. Just if you want to catch us live, go to twitch.tv/duelingogres and subscribe there. And then whenever we start playing, we usually start streaming about 20 minutes before we actually start the game to give people time to get into the chat if they want to.
It is entertaining, and I was in it the other day long enough to come in and make a mom joke about Remington. That was
hell yeah.
Yeah. You were in the bathroom, so you might not know that I came in and made a mom joke to Remington.
No, I did not.
So you guys were trying to teleport somewhere, and I came in and I said, "Hey, I'll help you guys teleport." And then I said, I waited a while, and obviously no one saw it, and I said I was going to make a joke about teleporting to Remington's mom's house. And that was it. It was very dumb. And then Remington, while you were still in the bathroom, was like, "Hi, Dave. Yeah, my mom's house. Cool."
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's about right. Remington's just like fucking Dave at this point.
He's a surly gentleman.
He is. But he also knows that I'm surly towards him, so it's a mutual surliness.
He's been 60 since he was 15.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's how I describe Remington.
I've told us, I've known him since I was fucking 5 years old, and he's always been a guy where it's like, hey, listen, if you don't take me seriously, I'm going to get mad about it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And yet, try to be as silly as possible. So it's like, what are we doing here, man? Let's not shit talk Remington. Like,
absolutely not. No, because we were very silly people. We're very silly people.
Mm.
I do actually have I have a special place in my heart for Remington, but I also have this cantankerous relationship with him that I don't think is ever going to change. But he was on we were talking about our previous podcast, so I'll just bring it home a little bit. He was a guest, one of the first guests on my previous podcast, The People versus Happiness, which I do not miss in the slightest. Strangely, probably no offense to this podcast, but strangely probably my most successful endeavor so far, because I still get emails from people like, "Are you still doing this podcast?" I'm like, wow. It's not like, "Hey, are you still doing this podcast? Because you might need help in your social medias and you only have to pay." It's not that good of sense. Like actual people being like, "Hey, I'm just curious, are you still doing this podcast?" I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, okay, cool. Well, I hope you do someday." But my sister and I actually do a podcast, and I use the same server. So all the episodes are The People versus Happiness up to when Aaron and I just start doing Clearing Up the Past, which is on and off. We're not trying to put any pressure on it. We're just putting out episodes as we can. But This is my favorite podcast that I've ever done so far. I can easily say that. So
Clearing up the past has been your most successful endeavor so far?
no, the People versus Happiness was.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the fuck? You just started a new one and it's already better?
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Far superior.
And I'm telling you this because I might need to put more time into that one. So, no. The People versus Happiness was, but I didn't like it because it was mostly just me, and then it's like somebody else every once in a while, and somebody else every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's enough of me. How are you guys? Who wants to go next?
David, how are you
David.
specifically?
I'm good.
Good.
Ryan, how you doing?
Just still alive. Keep checking in for updates on that.
We'll let you know. We will let you know when Ryan dies. We absolutely will.
Yeah, you guys watch this space.
We'll put something up in this area. It'll be like a loving picture of Ryan like this.
I don't think I have any like that.
If you want up-to-date updates about Ryan's health, subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And patrons will get first notification.
Yeah.
Find out 30 days in advance if Ryan is still alive by going to patreon.com/we're probably not okay and signing up for any tier. You don't even have to go top tier. We'll let you know at the bottom tier if Ryan's still alive 30 days in advance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. That's a good hook for getting people involved. Just, the usual stuff, work and series of escalating tragedies and once in a lifetime events that we're all living through,
Don't talk about them. It gives them power. I don't even want to think about it. Don't even want to think about it.
I obviously I won't, but the memes, the tweets have been just
Yeah. That is
so good.
I've actually actively avoided Facebook today because I didn't want to see it. But every once in a while, I'm like, you know how your muscle memory, your thumb just goes to the app, and you're just like, oh, okay, all right.
Hold on, I'm going to send you just one.
Oh no! I told you I didn't want to think about it. All
that is my favorite one, but it's Fallout related. So
okay, I'm back in.
Back in. All right, and you don't have to. Here we go. I'm going to put it in our group chat so you can see it. Anyway, continue.
Well, I can't continue until I see it.
Oh gosh! All right, so the pressure's on. There we go.
Yeah, that's. Yeah. Well, that individual obviously chose poorly with those percentages.
I know. Really, you need to update your VATs there, bro.
Oh, yeah. Is it a VATs joke?
It's a VATs joke. It's a VATs joke.
Anyway,
that was funny.
Yeah, so we don't have to talk about that. Yeah. But so I think if our listeners recall from our last episode, I know it's been a hot minute, but we arbitrarily decided that we were going to review Clerks 3 this episode.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, we just sort of talked about it in passing, and then we're like, yeah, okay, let's do that. And for some reason, because it's not like it's a new movie, it's new-ish, but it's not like, I think it came out like a year and a half ago.
But it was new. It was new to all of us. None of us had seen it.
It was new to all of us, and very relevant to our struggles and life experiences. At least I felt that way.
Yeah.
So I guess let's just briefly. Did you like it? First off, Clerks 3, written and directed and starring Kevin Smith and the cast of every other Clerks movie and animated series before this.
I believe it's called the View Askewniverse, Ryan.
It might be, yes. Is it still called that?
Yeah.
View Askewniverse. I think it's still View Askew.
It's still his production company, I think.
We're gonna get into spoilers and shit, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Heads up. Spoilers for Clerks 3 if you give a shit. But yeah, it's coming.
I would say if you're listening to this podcast and you have the means to watch Clerks 3 before you listen to the rest of it,
Yeah, go do it.
Because we'll talk about it.
It's $4. You can rent it for $4. Yeah. Go do it. Watch it. Pause this. Don't turn it off. Pause this. Go watch it. Hour and a half later, come back. Am I supposed to say something else?
I thought there was more.
Both of you
I thought we were. Yeah, I mean, we assume you're back.
We kind of ended.
You're back now.
Okay, I didn't know if I had to like.
So what did
shoot the gun,
what did you the viewers think? Just let us know.
Anyway, actually, the rest of the podcast, you guys talk. Okay.
Yeah, it's you guys talking. We're just gonna listen.
We sit here and talk all the time. It's time for you guys to put in a little work. Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yes. Overall, I liked it. I'm not going to give it a rating. We can do the rating at the end if we decide to give it a rating. But I liked it. There were parts where I was like, oh my God, I'm just watching Kevin Smith jerk himself off.
There is absolutely parts like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But then there were other parts where I'm like, okay, all right.
But is that bad? And by the end of this episode, you'll know my opinion on that. Stay tuned.
All right.
Continue.
But yeah, that's my short answer. I liked it.
Yeah, I would say my short answer as well is that I liked it with an asterisk. I had thoughts and concerns as well that we can get into. But what about you, David?
I liked it. I went into this thinking I was going to hate it. Almost. Okay, another movie I can compare this to, not in content or style, is Wonka. I recently watched Wonka, going into it being like, like the Timothée Chalamet Wonka. I went into it thinking like, get ready for this shit show, because this is going to suck, and it's either going to be so bad it's good, or it's just going to be really, really bad. And that's what I was expecting. And by the time I left it, I was like, oh, yeah, that was a movie, and it didn't suck. And I thought the exact same thing of Clerks 3, but with more of a twinge of nostalgia. Like, we are essentially children of the 90s. And there is a special place in my heart, love it or hate it, for Kevin Smith. Because he was pretty formative. Whether we like it or not, Kevin Smith was pretty formative to us. Myself and Ryan, I know in particular, but Brandon, I believe you're probably on this boat as well with us.
Yes, Brandon showed me Chasing Amy, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which, in hindsight, wildly problematic movie.
Wildly
problematic movie.
And it was so like, this is edgy and good. No.
Yeah, and at the time we were like, oh, this is so progressive because it's about gay people.
Yeah.
No. What? No.
Yeah.
I liked it mostly because they were comic writers. It revolved around comic book creators. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. There are
I wanted to be a comic creator, so it was like, that's cool.
There are still good elements to that movie. Like I almost would love to see another swing at that movie, because it had a lot of great elements. It had a lot of good thought behind it. But it's like, I'm gonna make this gay woman straight by the end of this movie.
Right. That was the issue. I think if I'm not mistaken, like what was his name? The one guy, Jason Lee, his character in that movie, who's just like disgustingly homophobic.
Yeah.
And he says that all gay women just need the right dick to like turn them straight, and it's just like, holy shit,
something along the lines of that. I can, like, the scene where they're like at a bar sitting at a table together. They have that whole conversation. The thing that stands out is like they're talking about going down on women, and like, and her being like, what's bad about it? Why don't you want to do it? Is it the smell? And he's like, no, the smell's good. It's not bad. It's whatever. Like, all of it was like, so in hindsight, like as a 15-year-old boy, 16-year-old boy watching it, it's like, okay, this is riveting. But as a man on the other side of that, it's just like,
As a 15-year-old boy, you're like, I know what they're talking about. Why wouldn't I?
Ugh.
I'm worldly inexperienced at 15.
Yeah.
I'm aware of vaginas.
I know what they look like. I could pick one out of a lineup.
And I know what they smell like, for that matter.
Yeah. It's like, that's one. No, that's an Arby's ad. Sorry, buddy. But yeah, so this movie, I feel like, was...
Great joke, Ryan. That was I got to stop for a second and say...
Thanks. But I feel like this movie, it was a direct consequence of Kevin Smith's heart attack.
Oh yeah.
And I mean that's a pretty major plot point of this movie. It revolves around a person in their late 40s, early 50s, I think, like having a heart attack and realizing like, oh shit, I got to get my shit together. Which is, according to Kevin Smith, like what happened to him.
So can I give like a basic premise of the movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to ask one of us to do like a plot breakdown, so perfect.
So starting out, you've got the Clerks. You've got Dante and Randall, who you remember from Clerks 1 and Clerks 2.
And the wildly underrated Clerks, the animated series.
Best thing they've ever made. Best thing they've ever
Absolutely.
made.
Absolutely.
They go into the fucking walk-in and they don't make a joke about like this.
But did you notice there were references to Clerks animated series in the movie? I did, and I was like, oh shit.
I'm not sure I caught any.
When Jay's got his hat on backwards and he has a button on his hat that has the face of Leonardo on it.
Oh really? I didn't catch that at all. Oh, that's awesome.
And when you see little Lisa or teenage Lisa and adult Lisa, her husband is Lando from the episode of Clerks where they go to the junkyard and to talk to their quote unquote black friend Lando.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. No, I didn't catch any of that. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So Dante and Randall from Clerks 1, 2, 3, and the animated series. And Randall, who was like the cooler, not even debatably, he's 100% the cooler of the two. Like, at least
he's the one that we're supposed to interpret as like the cool, Han Solo guy.
Cooler Han Solo style, yeah. If I were to hang out with one of them, I'd probably want to hang out with Randall over Dante. Which you guys, it seems debatable for you, so it's maybe something we can discuss.
Yeah.
But Randall has a heart attack. Very early on in the movie, he has a heart attack. And he decides that he has wasted his life, and he wants to make a movie of his life. Because his life is basically taking place at the Quick Stop and RST Video, he decides to place the movie there and star after trying to cast some people, and you get like a casting montage of a bunch of celebrities. He decides to just cast his own friends in the movie. So the rest of the movie is him him directing his friends and trying to film this movie while also bossing Dante around a lot. Which, like, becomes a plot point towards the very end of the movie that Dante is being bossed around a bunch. Although at the beginning of the movie, I felt like he doesn't boss him around, and then suddenly he's just like, quit bossing me around! But anyway, that's the plot of the movie up until the end, which we'll get to towards the end.
Well, I feel like because in the sequence in the hospital after, when the doctor is talking to Dante about Randall's condition, the doctor more or less tells him to, hey, help your friend, help your friend, relax and have a decent, life. And, that's literally what leads, like, Dante going above and beyond for the continued well-being of his friend who takes advantage of him is what ultimately leads to the end of the movie.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, when Dante fucking has a heart attack and dies.
Yeah.
And straight up fucking dies.
Yeah.
And and this is perhaps my biggest critique, my biggest complaint. Because like Brandon, you mentioned it's like a lot of the humor in the movie comes from either Kevin Smith jerking himself off or him being like, you guys remember this? Huh? You guys remember this? And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. It's not enough to be like a sin of like storytelling or cinema. But the biggest complaint I have is that Randall learns nothing throughout the entire movie. He's the exact same person at the end of the movie as he is at the beginning of the movie, except for now he's sad. because his friend died and he knows it's his fault.
But
and
isn't that more realistic though? Like a movie would have us believe that Randall is going to be a better person after Dante dies. A real movie would. A Kevin Smith movie, I think, has had Randall the same fucking person no matter what happens to him. You know, his video store gets shut down. He's the same fucking person. He has a heart attack. He wants to be different, but it's more like, now I need attention because I'm Randall. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then his best friend dies trying to give him that attention, and he's still fucking Randall because that's Randall. Do we expect more of him?
I think, I don't know that I expect more from him so much as I expected more from Kevin Smith, because I feel like he has grown and changed and evolved as a storyteller.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel like it's really kind of like it's easy to have an irredeemable character. And I feel like he kind of took the easy way out here. Like the easy ending is, yeah, and he's still a wacky piece of shit. And it's like, yeah, okay, sure, yes.
But I mean, he's not as wacky a piece of shit. I mean, he does. I think his character has changed. Like, even at the beginning of the movie, I think his character is different than Randall of Clerks.
Okay, yeah.
But I think it's like, it's almost like, yes, Kevin Smith had this experience and he realized that there's more to life. He needs to do more. But at the same time, it's kind of like, if he had died, life would have had gone on. Would that really have had that big of an impact on other people around him? Would they have changed? It's just another person you know that died. Whether it's your best friend or just a guy you used to go into a convenience store and saw when you bought cigarettes. Does that really change your life once they're gone?
Well, I think the central conceit of Clerks is that the universe exists in a microcosm. And so I think that yes is the answer to that question. And I think he kind of fumbled the ball because this pretty much the whole conceit of Clerks as like a concept is like this small thing that you would otherwise just walk right past, take for granted, maybe not even care about. Within it contains, a universe.
Yeah.
Within it contains a multitude. Within it contains, a compelling narrative, interesting characters who have their own rich inner lives and stuff like that. And so like the fact that this exists points to that being the case. And so I feel like to end it in such a way where like the world, not even necessarily the world, the setting, the universe, the other people around Randall have changed to a degree. And I think that's sort of like if you juxtapose Randall against Elias, like their narratives within the context of the movie, like Elias is, he's a silly comedic relief character.
Yeah.
But even when he starts at one place, goes on like a journey and winds up in a place that is parallel to the place he started, but not the same place he started. You know what I mean? And that's interesting and that's compelling. And I was really fascinated by that. I was like, I'd like to know more about Elias, please.
And I'll save my thought for Elias for when we inevitably talk about him more, because one of the best. Whoa, Brandon, you okay?
Yeah, I was trying to unblur myself.
No, I know.
Brandon, you look like a cool music video guy.
Yeah. For our non-audio listeners, I'll continue my thought, but I also think that it almost still feels right though, because they do tell these stories that they've been telling themselves and talking about for years and years and years. The guy in the toilet, all of those stories like come up and even though they've changed and evolved, but Dante and Randall are still kind of stuck. Especially Dante tried to grow beyond his experiences and had a tragedy in the death of his wife.
Which is, Brandon, do you want to, because Brandon had a really interesting point about that as well. Something that's sort of like present in the context of the story is Dante marries his love interest from the second Clerks movie, and in the interim between Clerks 2 and Clerks 3, the clerkening, she has passed away. And what did you had thought about that, Brandon?
It felt so cheap. I get that.
Yes,
I understand that Rosario Dawson probably cost too much money to have in the movie.
She's Ahsoka Tano.
But she's in the fucking movie. She's in the movie more than what I thought she was going to be for them killing her off.
True.
She's not even in it that much. Maybe 10 minutes, you'd say?
Oh, yeah. I mean, minutes? Cumulatively, maybe not even that.
Yeah, not even.
Yeah. But yeah, so they kill her at the very beginning of the movie. Like, you see her, they sit her down, and they're like, "You're dead."
One of those.
You're too famous for this movie.
Yeah, we can't handle you. It's really brutal.
Dante has her obituary taped to the counter at the at the quick stop, and then he mentions later that she was pregnant.
Mm-hmm. I can hear you. Keep talking.
I don't know if you caught that. She was pregnant, and then it was a drunk driver that killed her. And as soon as they said drunk driver, that was the third piece of information. I'm like, that is so fucking cliche at this point. Like,
it was cheap heat. You know what I mean?
Killed by a drunk driver.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that was, I don't know. I don't want to use the term fridging but that's basically what it was. Like, you can say, like, oh yeah, she was too expensive to have in the movie long term, or we didn't really know what else to do with her. But really, you just killed this female character as a means of like adding pathos to a male character's story.
Yeah,
I mean, that's basically fridging.
If you had Rosario Dawson for like 10 minutes for the movie, Ryan,
she's a nice lady.
She's pretty.
She's pretty. She's a Jedi Master.
How would you utilize her in the movie, though? I mean,
I would have had her leave Dante. She would have left him. I feel like that would have been a much better way to utilize her character without sacrificing her and without using her as just like an exquisite corpse to like motivate Dante to action. Like, if you would have just had her leave him and be like, look, Randall's shitty to you, man, and I'm not going to sit here and watch you be abused by people around you when you don't have to be. And it hurts me to see you do this, and I'm going to fucking leave.
Yes, Ryan is correct. The right answer is to have her at the beginning of the movie and have her leaving him be his motivation for the rest of the movie. Like, having to find himself, understand who he was, who he is with these people around him. And the Randall heart attack thing takes on a whole nother level of like complication in their relationship. It's like, now it's like, what are you, my fucking wife? You know, like there could have been so much more that they could have done with that relationship, which they kind of already have done. That they're like each other's partners essentially through life. And Dante tried to go and have something beyond Randall, couldn't. And now all he has is Randall, and almost lost Randall too. Like, there's a lot of complexity there that they could have played with.
Yeah, and I feel like that was a real missed opportunity.
Yeah, frankly. I agree. I didn't really think about it in those terms. I did think about the whole fridging thing, and it's like, oh yeah, we can't afford Rosario Dawson, so she's dead. Of course. Yeah. She didn't need to be pregnant because they didn't do anything.
No,
they didn't really
that was
do anything.
Weird.
They didn't do anything
other than
with it.
Double tragedy, right? Yeah.
They didn't do anything with it other than like, I'm double sad. I could have had a family. Well, I mean, I guess they kind of did, because at one point in time, what's her face?
His old love interest.
His old love interest said something about like, well, you know, I've got a family. You all, and then she was like, oh shit, I'm so fucking sorry. Like, they did a little bit of something with it in that moment. But other than that, it was just double sadness. That's all they.
Yeah.
Well, it was kind of the cause of his heart attack too.
What?
With Dante having the heart attack, is kind of the stuff with his family, because it all comes down to
Yeah.
him standing
Yes.
up to Randall.
Yes, he had an anxiety attack because he has to go back. Due to the course of the story, he has to go back to the place where he initially met his wife, and he can't do it because he has like a fucking anxiety attack, like a real bad one. And I threw some shade at Brian O'Halloran for not being a great actor, and I still stand by the fact that I don't think he's a great actor. But in that scene, he fucking knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
I
he
believed
does really well there.
I believed he was having a panic attack in that scene.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, is this real?
Yeah.
Are you really doing this? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what sort of leads to the sort of like step one to on the road to Randall or Dante having a heart attack and dying.
Yes.
Her name is
that anxiety attack.
Her name is Veronica in the movie, right?
Okay, yes.
His original love interest, Marilyn.
Yeah.
Gilotti.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And think about that for a minute too. Like the remember the fucking the go home, like the tagline, not the tagline, but the go home line from the first Clerks movie was there's a million fine women in the world, but none of them will bring you lasagna at work.
Yeah.
And that's in reference to that character.
Yeah.
And then nothing. Like I was kind of like
they have sex in the van.
They do have sex in the van.
They do have sex in the van.
And I was like, good for you, buddy.
But
at the same
he got
time,
one more before he,
Sure, yeah.
But again, I think that he tried to do a lot of fan service to like OG Clerks fans, which is great. I love that, but it does seem like a little bit of that sacrifice some of the deeper meaning to what he was trying to do with his story. Because again, a story very close to his heart, pun intended. He could have gotten so much deeper with it. And the more I think about it, if Rosario Dawson would have left Dante, if Becky would have left Dante, it would have been like a whole different tone to the entire movie.
It would have added different context to everything that happened.
And the way that Dante was there for Randall, if Randall would have been there for Dante in the hospital, and that we would have had a little bit more of like a goodbye between the two of them with that other story of like the two of them realizing like, hey, you're my partner. I tried to get beyond this life and I couldn't, and I came back to it, and you were my partner.
Mm-hmm.
You're the one with me at the end. When I'm dying, you're next to me when I'm dying, and Rosario Dawson Becky is not there. Like that could have been so much more powerful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think so too. And I don't know. Rosario Dawson is of all the people in the movie who are actors. Rosario Dawson's the only like capital A actor, I feel like. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And so I feel like giving her the kind of, I don't know, the opportunity to do something like heavy, like that, like being the Dante's motivation without just being like his exquisite corpse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is something that more befits her talent.
Mm.
She was in fucking Rent, for God's sake.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
Like we said, she's less than 10 minutes in the movie, and 2 of those minutes is spent with her talking about all the famous people she's fucking in heaven while Dante's back on Earth.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a very strange choice.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm close-minded in my relationships, I guess. But, like, if my wife died, I don't know if I'd want her to tell me about all the famous people she's fucking.
Yeah. Well, I also didn't interpret that as actually happening. I assume that was, like, Dante, like, pretending, like, having, like, what would they say now if they were here?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think they were trying, they had kind of like a wacky relationship when in Clerks 2. It was kind of like they had that weird back and forth. Now, we never heard them talking about fucking famous people other than, being within their own relationship. But, like, I kind of get that they were, like, trying to be like, hey, we had this kind of, like, really cool relationship. Yeah. And if you're dead now, you're going to razz me about not being in heaven because you're fucking all these famous old people and stuff. Like, but it was awkward, and it demeaned their relationship unnecessarily. Again, I would rather her have left him than.
Yeah, and also too, like that's the scene where we get some answers as to like what happened as well. And I feel like having that sort of punctuated with her being like, who did she say she fucked? Cleopatra or something.
She names like 5 people.
Yeah, she does name a lot. Cleopatra was one of them.
Yeah, and it's like, oh.
And actually, most of them were African American people too. So it's almost like you were the one white dude that I was with, and now I'm in heaven, like banging these famous black dudes. Like, you know, so it's just like even like a double, like, fuck you, white guy, like nerdy white guy that I should never been with anyway. That's kind of like what it came across as. But yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that too. It's like this when it's like, hey, I was gonna have your baby, but instead I died, and now I'm fucking these black dudes in heaven, and this and this African like Egyptian beauty, just
Queen,
so you know,
So who's historically famous for being beautiful,
like the one person you'd like to fuck if you really think about it. Like, okay, cool, thanks, ex-wife who's now dead, also. And was gonna have my baby but didn't because you got killed by a drunk driver. Yeah, it was very awkward. Do you think that is some kind of like insecurity in Kevin Smith coming through in his writing?
Oh yeah,
maybe.
I can say for sure. Well, I guess I can't say for sure like I know the guy, but I've listened to a lot of Kevin Smith podcasts. Smodcast, which he did, was my first introduction to podcasts.
Doesn't he do it? He does like a Batman podcast too or something.
Fat Man. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if he still does it. He did it for a while and it was pretty good, and then it got like very celebrity ass kissy, and it just kind of what he fell into. But yeah, Kevin Smith has a lot of insecurities. I think once he started smoking weed, he really went downhill, and I think I've mentioned this before. Like, that's all he talked about for a long time was how much weed he smoked and how good it was and how it was helping him all the time and how creatively it was the best thing. But then you look at his creative output during that time and all his characters are just talking about smoking weed. Like, that's just the whole fucking thing. And it's like, you're not that creative if that's what was happening is they're just talking about smoking weed. But yeah, I think it has a lot to do with insecurity. I know Smith has stopped smoking weed. That's like a new development.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
He stopped smoking because he said it was like he was hurting the people closest to him and he didn't realize it or something. It's very like interesting press release that he did or release to his fans that he did. But...
Yeah. So yes, I do. I've always sensed insecurity from him, and like I feel like he got fame like at a time where literally that window was the only time Kevin Smith could have gotten famous. I think that if that individual tried to do what he tried to do today, nope.
Yeah, the 90s when he rose to, relevancy was like that time of experimental filmmaking. That was when you had your like Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez and shit like that, and they were sort of exploding onto the scene. So everyone was kind of looking for that, and that I don't think Kevin Smith would have gotten a chance outside of that environment,
Yeah.
That isn't to say that he's not a good filmmaker, because I think I've enjoyed more of his content than I haven't, and I even enjoyed this movie overall.
Yeah.
Just there were criticisms and there were things that happened or choices that were made that I felt like were less than the ideal choice to make.
Have you guys seen Jay and Silent Bob reboot? Bab. Jay and Silent Bab reboot?
No.
Next movie we review, because I haven't seen. Oh, you have seen it. I haven't seen it.
It's so
is it bad? Is it
so
like bad, or is it like just Van Wank bad?
Bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember when Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back came out? I think we all saw that in theaters together.
Yeah, we did.
I remember that not being great, but
it wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. This one reboot is just bad. I watched it with my face was like this.
Is it? And forgive me for even asking this, but is it in continuity with the other films?
Yes, from what I remember, Jay and Silent Bob are going to stop a reboot of their life story or something. And Jay finds out that he has an illegitimate child who is Kevin Smith's daughter. Kevin Smith's daughter is playing his illegitimate child,
Harley
who is
Quinn.
like a weed smoking tough kid. And it's just like they get attacked by cults at one point. It's not good. It sounds like it might be good. It's not
Is that who she was playing in? Because at the end of the movie, you see her. You see Kevin Smith's
that's
daughter.
who she was playing. Yeah.
And
She might
you
be
just
one of the
see-
yoga hosers.
Yeah, Yoga.
Because you remember. Oh no, I didn't see that either. I knew that was a thing, but
we
wait,
talked
he
about
didn't
that
do
last
that.
time. Huh?
He didn't make that movie, right?
Yoga hosers?
Yeah, was
Yeah,
that
he did.
he
I
did?
thought-
He
I
made
thought
that.
so.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get together in person live, and we're going to watch a double feature. We're going to watch Jay and Silent Bob reboot and Yoga Hosers, and we're going to film our reactions.
It's going to be the worst 4 hours of your life.
Yeah.
Yoga hosers.
So you saw
Hosers is
Yoga
fucking
Hosers, then?
Terrible, too.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's not great.
So it's bad. Though. It's bad. is what
It's
you're
German sausages that go up people's butts and kill them.
Yeah.
That's the whole
That's
point.
that's the monster. Is
Mhm.
little German sausages that climb up your butt.
It's tonally, it's like a comedy. It's more like
No,
the Army
dead
of Darkness
serious.
or something.
It's no.
It's a documentary.
You're blurry, so I can't tell. But I think. I don't know. I don't know if it's something like Tusk, where it's like a stupid fucking idea, but it's presented as a horror movie.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of. It kind of is presented as a horror movie, but
Army
very
of
much.
Darkness is a good
Yes,
comparison.
yes. You took the words literally out of my mouth. You pulled the
Oh my
German
God.
sausage out and said it for me. It's exactly what it's like, and I say we sit down and watch it sometime together in person,
Yeah.
and hold each other's hands because
Sounds like a good idea.
you're going to need the support. It's not
Uh,
good.
The movie, the soundtrack. What did you guys think of the soundtrack? Did anything?
Oh, I thought it was
stand out to you?
great.
Hold
I
on,
actually really liked the soundtrack.
I need to
That
pull the
song about
soundtrack
getting.
back up because I'm old.
I watched it. I actually watched the movie with Willow, who has no Kevin Smith background. Willow
Mhm.
exclusively knows Kevin Smith as Silent Bob from like the time he showed up in Supergirl,
Oh, okay.
and of course Supergirl was in this movie. She was one of the people like auditioning for, but yeah, Willow's take on it was just like this movie was just sad. Like, this was just a sad movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it is, but I think you would probably have a different take if you had seen the original Clerks.
That's very
because that's what this movie is
Yeah.
about. Is about like,
When it was happy.
I mean, it's about aging. Yeah, it's about like being old and looking back on times that you consider now to be the good old days, but during the being present in those quote unquote good old days, they were shitty.
Well, and that's
You know
the
what I
thing.
mean?
And I'll say this because my main takeaway from the movie is exactly that. Before I forget, and I won't say this, and before I say
Okay, so we're
something
making
about the soundtrack, is that's exactly my overall takeaway from the movie is that it was a reflection on a life that was enjoyable, if not well lived, without realizing that those were the good times. Absolutely, you said it. You said it best right there. And then thinking, oh, now it's too late. I'm about to lose my life. I need to go back and think about it and relive it and make sure I understand what was good about it. And then somebody had the chance to do that in the movie, and then another person didn't. So it's like life is fleeting. It could happen at any moment. Know the good times. Realize that, like, be present. And understand that you've lived a good life. Those are your friends. Those are the people you want around you. Rosario Dawson was never meant to be married to you. Boom, the end.
You don't know that.
I don't know that about you. I know that about Dante. But what I hated about this movie more than anything is that it opened up with My Chemical Romance, Welcome to the Black Parade.
Was that as soon as that happened? I was
So
like,
fucking
I
weird.
Don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
my bar,
Even I
like
know
my
that
expectation, my expectation was like, oh, here we go.
When I was a young
Yes.
boy.
But
And they played like the whole fucking song.
They
It
did
wasn't
play
a
the whole
little
song.
bit
Yeah,
of
that's
the
what
song. It was the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
fucking song.
It was
He's
the
like,
whole
hey, here's the
thing.
song we can afford and play most
It
of.
definitely set the tone insofar as like you're playing that song and already I'm like, and then it's just that whole bit from the first movie with them playing hockey on top of the.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, okay, is this what we're going to be dealing with?
Yeah.
However, they played that bomb ass song about getting nachos at 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And that song fucking kicks ass.
So
Here's something though, real quick. At one of the Kevin Smith podcasts, and I thought this was interesting with opening with My Chemical Romance. He did a smodcast about how he discovered My Chemical Romance, like his daughter liked them. And he did a whole podcast where he was like, I found this band, I fucking love it. I'm gonna interview Gerard Way. And he had him on the podcast and like fangirled over him. So I'm
I
guessing
hate how wholesome that is.
that
I'm
makes
guessing
sense.
that's why he's in the movie, or why he has that song in the movie.
I hate
that
that
definitely makes sense.
because it's like I don't know, like that to me as the father of two teenagers is a very pure thing when your kids introduce you to something and you're like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, it's not cool.
Yeah.
It's not cool. Or at least it's not. You're not allowed to be this excited about it. You have to regard it with a certain detached, aloofness about it. Like, all right, that's how I feel about My Chemical Romance. Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Well, we can talk about My Chemical Romance another time because I've got like deep-seated,
won't, though.
awful memories of it. So
Really? Okay, then now it's coming back around to
No.
where we might need to.
no,
Okay.
my worst.
Point of order: can we call it the Ryan Rap instead of the TED Talk?
Yes.
Thank you for coming to my Ryan Rap.
I can't rap though.
Well, the Ryan rap.
Listen to this voice.
Well, the Ryan rap is at the end of the episode when he wraps it up for us because he's way better at that than you and I.
The Ryan Rap,
I'm not.
or if Ryan wraps you like a burrito in a blanket with his big strong arms, that's a Ryan Rap too.
And like just holds you and nurtures you and nibbles on your head.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put some
I only
cheese
do
in
that. I only do that to cats. I like to nibble on their ears.
Wow, those lucky
It's
cats.
true. It's true though. I do that.
Lit by My Own Worst Enemy by Lit was in there, and I kind of bopped my head to that for a second.
Well, sure. That's from our era.
7-Eleven Nachos by Froggy.
That song was so good, and it's exactly what's on the tin. You know what you're getting when you push play. Song about how rad it is to get nachos at 7-Eleven. You know what? That song is pure pure of heart.
And what
Pure of
better?
heart.
And what better song for Clerks? I mean, they knew what they were doing with that one for sure. That was a moment of genius. Then there's some Jefferson Starship and some other stuff.
You can't go wrong with that, I guess.
Yeah. Honestly,
Also, wasn't that in the first one?
Oh, maybe.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
know.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
And Pearl Jam and some other stuff. There's nothing else noteworthy to me.
Yeah.
So there's a guy who shows up in the movie, and I don't remember what character he plays, so I can't even point him out, but he's in every Kevin Smith movie. He's one of those like friends of his that shows up. It's a tall, thin guy with a big fucking beard. Long beard.
Yes. That guy
Comic Book
sucks.
Man. He was in Comic Book Man. He is the real life inspiration for Randall. I don't know if you guys knew that or not.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's Brian Johnson, right?
Brian Johnson, yeah.
It might be.
Said,
That makes a lot of sense because I watched all of Comic Book Men because of fucking course I did, and that guy's a dickhead.
Dude, I loved Comic Book Men though. I thought it was pretty good.
I loved that show. I loved my favorite parts of that show was when some fucking nerd would bring in something and they'd be like, "Look at this thing I have," and they would be like, "This is issue something something. It's important because of this. It's worth this much money."
And then it would cut to Brian Johnson and be like, "What a fucking loser nerd!"
Yeah,
asshole.
he'd be like, "What a dumb piece of shit. I hope he dies." And everyone would be like, "Jesus, Brian!" Like he's like, "What a bunch of fucking nerds." Anyway, I'm gonna be over here, jersey and my fucking navel beard. It's like, all right, dude, you're hanging out all day in a comic book store.
Yeah.
Don't throw stones.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love that show, though. All those guys are in that movie.
Yeah.
Mike Zapsik, Brian Johnson,
Ming
Chang, Chen,
Yeah.
Ming Chen.
That guy was my favorite guy. Ming was my favorite guy.
They always shit on Ming.
They did, but he was the hardworking one who actually read comics.
Well, and speaking of that, all the guys from Impractical Jokers were in that because you said that Kevin Smith was friends with them too.
Yeah, so Brian Johnson does a podcast with Walt Flanagan and Brian Quinn from Impractical Jokers called Tell 'em Steve Dave.
That's right. And so that's where that crossover comes from.
Yes.
Here, I'm going to go and tell you all the people that auditioned for the movie because that's kind of interesting. Brian Quinn, one of the guys we were just talking about from Impractical Jokers. Sarah Michelle Gellar. I mean,
yeah, of course.
Fred Armisen.
Yeah.
Because Fred Armisen will be in anything.
Yes. Melissa Benoist.
That's Supergirl.
Denny Trejo, because of course. James Murray, another Impractical Joker. Sal Vacano, another one. Donnell Rawlings. Chris Wood. Joe Gatto, another. I don't know how to pronounce this one. You guys are going to have to help me with this one. Bane Affleck. Bean. Like a
green bean.
It's pronounced Batman.
Oh, okay. Batman. Ralph Garman. Ethan Slurpee. Supley, who was the guy from Mallrats. That was a good Mallrats reference, actually.
That was, yeah.
Because he's like, I still don't know what a schooner is, or something along that. Or I still don't see the sailboat. Yeah, he said something like that, referencing the 3D image in the mall in Mallrats. Scott Mosier, Freddie Prinze Jr.
That was great. Like, I like how everyone was like being these wacky characters, and then Freddie Prinze Jr. was just like, I'm Freddie Prinze Jr. I'm auditioning.
Freddie Prinze Jr. liked a tweet of mine, so I felt
really hey, listen, I will harbor no ill will or any unsavory comments towards Freddie Prinze Jr. That man is a saint. And he has a deep and abiding understanding of Star Wars that I have rarely ever come across in my life. I'm not even joking. And
he's in this movie with his wife.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
And this is absolutely true. 100% true. He used to be the head writer for the WWE.
What?
Really?
I know.
What?
I heard that too. And I was like, what? Freddie Prinze Kanan from Star Wars Rebels? Like that guy? Like, yeah, he used to be the head writer. What? But yeah, he did.
Cool.
He contains multitudes.
Anthony Michael Hall.
Of course. That guy's a man. He rules.
All I got to say is, give me the keys, man. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Jake Richardson, don't know who that is. Grace Smith, don't know who that is. Bobby Monahan, SNL fame.
Yes. Yeah.
Grace Smith is Kevin Smith's mom.
Oh, she was the older lady then. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That makes sense. And that is all of the auditioners.
That's interesting. A lot of those people, like Chris Wood is, I don't know if you guys, I mentioned it before on the show. Everybody knows my deep, nice spiritual love of the Masters of the Universe franchise, which Kevin Smith has been at the helm of for the past few years.
Yes.
And Chris Wood, who is one of the people who auditioned, is the voice of He-Man. And that's why he says, I'm not even supposed to be here today.
I wondered. I did not get that at all. I'm glad you're here to tell me, because I thought it should have been something that I didn't know, and now I know it was.
Well, unless you are like a fucking Masters of the Universe nerd like I am, you wouldn't know. But I was like, that's Chris Wood. That's the voice of He-Man. I know him.
That's why we keep you around,
so,
Ryan.
Here's my question to you guys. I don't know what we're going on time here, but I wanted to ask this question for you. What was your favorite joke from the movie? Do you have one?
Oh, God.
I feel like I do. I feel like I actually laughed out loud at one.
Yes, so did I. There was actually one moment I remember laughing out loud and then looking over at Kira, because I'll do that because I'm a dork like that. I'm like, ha, that was funny. Do you think that's funny? I need I need validation for my own enjoyment. You know what I mean? Sometimes. I definitely had one of those moments.
Well, I'll tell
the
you,
old
mine
brain
first to
is
give you a
dumb
second
and
to think.
old. So yeah.
So in the original Clerks movie, there's that scene where the woman comes in and she's asking if the two movies are any good.
Mhm.
Randall's like, I don't know, I haven't seen them. Do you know that?
Yeah.
And then she gets like pissed, and he's like, I don't appreciate your tone.
Yeah. I don't appreciate your ruse.
Yeah, the ruse. Well, that same actress is back in this movie, if you guys remember, the refilming that scene. And she does the scene, and then she does it again dressed as Lucille Ball.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't understand if
that actually
was
really good.
It's like, wow, Ricky. And they just cut to Randall, and he's like, she wanted to do one as Lucy.
Yeah. That was really good.
I didn't know if there was context for that. Like, if she's...
I don't think
if
so.
there wasn't, I don't know.
I would prefer there wasn't. I would prefer that it was just like a bit.
I read that as there should have been context for it, but there wasn't because I didn't understand the context. And it still hit me as very funny. Just kind of like one of those like, okay, that was okay.
Yeah.
It's like the one way they got her to do it the regular way was if she could also do it as Lucy. And I think that's all it was. And that's beautiful if that's all it was. And I hope that's all it was.
Yeah.
And then I think Elias and the way he was dressed in every scene.
Yes.
That was good.
Okay. So that might have been...
Hold on. One more thing before we get into that, because that's one thing I really do want to talk about. Ryan said that there was one A-list actor in this movie, and I agree. That was Rosario Dawson. But there is one person that I enjoy as an actor better, and that's Amy Sedaris.
Oh, yeah.
And actually now I know my favorite joke. Are you going to say the same? Are you going to say the same thing, Ryan?
I don't know. Go ahead.
I don't remember exactly what she says, but she was in Mandalorian.
She was, yeah.
She says something about like, you're just another Star Wars nerd and nobody likes Star Wars. She says something like that when Randall's in the hospital, I think. She makes a Star Wars reference. Mm-hmm. Don't even know exactly what it was, but that was one of my favorite moments. That might be my favorite joke in the movie just because it's the fourth wall breaking.
Whenever she's working on his heart, it's implied that he told her the entire story of the Mandalorian. Like it cuts in at the end as he's like, and then this happens. And she's like, and you've told me the entire first season of The Mandalorian? That's what it is. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah, I like that little fourth wall breaking. That did it for me. That was probably
pretty funny.
That's probably the moment when I was like, hey, Kira, yeah. That was the thing, right?
Oh, something that was actually pretty funny. I don't know. So they kept referencing 37.
Yeah.
From the suck 37 dicks in a row bit from the first Clerks movie. Yeah. And they kept doing it enough to where Willow was like, why do they keep saying 37?
And you're like,
and I was like, I don't know.
Good question.
I don't know why. It's a goddamn mystery. I don't know.
Good question. Nobody knows.
It's a weird thing. But then they flat out say it. Then they flat out say it later. And then she sucked 37 dicks. And I was like,
yeah.
Thank you. Nail on the head there. So overall, what do you think? What do you think just to bring it on home? What do you think the overall takeaway from that movie was? Like, if you had to summarize what Kevin Smith was trying to tell you, because ultimately, I feel like every movie, whether it's fucking Captain America or Citizen Kane, is trying to tell you something. So, what do you think Kevin Smith was trying to tell you with this movie?
Slow down. Live your life.
Moss.
No. Live Moss, yeah. Baja Blast.
Baja Blast life.
I think it's to always strive for more, but realize that you might be in the best moment in your life. This might be it.
Yeah. I think so. I think that he sort of points in this movie is pointing to this idea of like, in our striving, sometimes we lose sight of like that we have the things that we're striving for already. Like Dante strived
for more.
Yeah. But not even necessarily for anything other than his own like self-congratulations. But then at the end, he realized, like, he looks back and he shows Dante as he's dying. He shows him basically Clerks, the movie, the original.
Yeah.
And in doing so, realizes like, whatever I needed, I had, already. And that was Dante. And, I don't know how to sum that up neatly or succinctly, but I mean, I think that's basically it. It's like, only what you take with you.
I think that is actually pretty beautiful, and I didn't think about it in this way, but your life flashes before your eyes before you die.
Yeah.
And for Dante, it literally did.
And Randall even mentions that at the beginning of the movie, like, my life flashed before my eyes, and that was not a movie anybody would want to see.
Yeah.
And it was a movie that people wanted to see. He just didn't appreciate it.
So it's like even the mundane shit that we go through is worth.
Yeah, which again, that's
noting.
Kevin Smith in a nutshell. Is the micro and the macro. You know what I mean? Like, the microcosm of the banality of everyday life is in and of itself like the fucking secrets of the universe.
Yeah. No, I mean, and for most of us, there's nothing more than that. All of our lives are somebody's quirky movie, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And none of ours are.
Some movies are quirkier than others.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, thanks for...
Also, Elias is awesome, and I'm sorry that I interrupt you guys from talking about him.
Right. Elias. Okay, that was my favorite bit in the entire movie, was how he kept getting, in every scene, he was getting more and more and more goth in every scene. Like, it kept getting more and more exaggerated, like his gothiness.
He walks in as the lady from Blade Runner.
Yeah, and then literally in the final scene of him in the movie, he's like wearing like fucking like armor. She's like wearing shoulder armor and a cape and everything.
And his little friend. What was his friend's name? Was that
his Silent Bob? I don't know that he hasn't. Like, did they say his name? They surely must have.
Probably, yeah. The thing is, Elias was dressed as famous goths. Like, every outfit he was wearing, or most of the outfits he was wearing, were famous goths. Yeah.
Did he do Richard Smith?
Two others.
I thought he looked like Richard Smith at one point in time. Or Robert Smith. I'm sorry, Robert Smith. Robert Smith. Yeah. Not Richard.
And then he did, I can't remember the guy's name, but he has like kind of Wolverine spiked hair, and he's like sings very falsetto-y. I don't know, but he did that too. So I thought that was very funny as well.
That makes the joke even better, because I just assumed like the bit was, as time was going on, he was getting more goth with each consecutive scene. But the fact that he's dressed only as famous goths or famous like alternative people is even better, because that shows you that he is 100% just sort of like
posing as these things.
He has a limited understanding of what that is.
Yeah, but then when he's called out for dress like the Blade Runner character, he doesn't know who they are.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Which makes it even better.
So it kind of was like a combination of the two things.
Yeah.
It was really good. And I apologize to Robert Smith, the ghost of Robert Smith. He's not dead, but I still apologize.
I was going to say, is Robert Smith dead?
He's not.
Oh, jeez.
He's not. I've been a huge Cure fan for a large portion of my life, so the fact that I called him Richard Smith for a second is just, that's a dick move.
Hey.
Well, thanks for going along with my arbitrary decision to watch this, movie and talk about it for an hour. I do think it was relevant to the things we have spoken about on this podcast before, and I think if our listeners, Chad, were to go and watch it, if Chad were to go and watch it, I feel like he would probably get something out of it. I feel like our listeners would, just based on you listen to this podcast.
If you're within our age range and you like kind of looking back on your life,
it is aimed at us. Yeah,
I think you'll get something out of it. You might not like it that much, but I think there will be portions of the movie. Plus, it's like an hour and a half, an hour and 20 minutes or something. Like, it's a very short film.
And
Get through the 4-minute opening with My Chemical Romance, and it gets better. I promise.
Yeah.
It's tough.
And then when you're done, go watch the vastly superior Clerks the animated series.
Yes,
it's only 6 episodes. It'll fucking change your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who is driving? Bear is driving. There's so many. There are so many. Like, that show is so ahead of its time. First off, there was no Adult Swim. There was nothing when that show came out. And then you go back and look at like how many inside jokes, how many like of those quirky little like one-line bits of comedy have just infiltrated your everyday existence that you say now, like the bear is driving thing. It's like there's so many things. Oxford and Eton, New Jersey, that just like that are in your everyday lexicon because of that show.
The one that sticks out to me is during that "Who's Driving? Oh my God, Bear's Driving" scene, where there's 2 kids in a Transformer car. And then turns into a Transformer, and the kids scream, and then they like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty.
The show's so good, everybody. I'm not even joking.
It was way ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time.
That's cold, Obi-Wan. And every episode has Charles Barkley in it for some reason.
Yeah.
Every episode has the actual Charles Barkley in it for some reason.
Episode 2 is a throwback or is a callback episode.
Yes, episode 2 is an episode where they only show clips from previous episodes that you never
don't
seen.
Exist. Yeah,
that don't exist.
So good.
Great.
Tune in next week for a much better episode. Until then, courage. Watch Clerks the animated series. In fact, forget everything we just said. Go watch Clerks the animated series.
Yeah. In fact, go to patreon.com/ we're probably not okay. We'll give that to you 30 days in advance. Let's go.
Yeah.
Also, by the way,
it's on Amazon.
Oh, don't tell them.
Oh, my bad.
Ruined my ruse.
Oh, I don't appreciate your ruse, David.
kind of teed you up for that one.
Yeah, I appreciate
it.
You're welcome.
Well, until who's got next, everybody? Does anyone know?
Me.
Brandon, what are we going to talk about, Brandon?
I know what we're going to talk about. Normally, we haven't figured it out.
We're definitely
Clerks 4.
Pants guys.
Clerks 4. The Clerks inning, as Ryan said. I stole your joke, Ryan. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
We're going to talk fame. We're going to talk brushes we've had with fame.
You've already heard them.
Like meeting famous people, any recognitions we've got from doing podcasts, any recognitions we've got from being online or doing anything like that. Like David, you had some with people messaging you. So I think that's what we will talk about for next episode.
I think this is a good idea.
If we don't have examples, I think we can go back to this Clerks. Clerks kind of inspired me because it does go to Kevin Smith's fame and relevancy almost, which I kind of want to fold in the relevancy aspect of fame a little bit too. So that's our topic for next time.
I do feel like and to sort of bridge between the two topics here, I do feel like in the same way that someone like Stan Lee or Adam West became professionally themselves, I feel like Kevin Smith is that now. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
His job is be Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
So like when he shows up in nerd stuff, so people can be like, "Hey, it's Kevin Smith," because Stan Lee is dead.
That's a pretty good impersonation, Ryan.
It is. It's me. It's your boy Kev.
He's more like this. Hey, I'm here. I'm Kevin Smith, and I'm still Kevin Smith.
Yeah, he does this a lot.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah, he does.
And his eyes are always huge. That's a thing I can't do.
His eyes. That's why. He's
big
like this. I'm Kevin Smith.
He does seem like a really nice man.
Oh, I agree.
Like he seems like he is a very sweet person. So there's no shade towards him as an individual. But yeah, he does do that like a lot, and always wears, of course, the hockey jerseys, the custom made hockey jerseys all the time.
He does this a lot too.
Although hockey jerseys look comfortable as fuck. They do look comfortable.
I'm wearing one right now.
Are you?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're wearing a fucking... It's not a hockey jersey.
No, it's a hockey jersey.
Oh, because of the hockey.
Right, because of the jersey.
Yeah.
I'm Brandon Full, Shepherd of the Forest.
I am your very best friend, Ryan Brown.
And I'm David Musgrave, the man who'll make it awkward on the end.
That's
time.
True.
I don't know. And that was awkward in and of itself. And we're probably not okay. The most awkward end to an episode yet.
Damn, you got it though.
Hey, I can make
Got
it
us
awkward.
there.
I can make it awkward.